Welcome to Fairweather Bird podcast. This is a political podcast. I know what you're thinking. Oh no, another political podcast. Well, I hope this one is a little different because most of the political podcasts you see are done by people who are under 50 years old. I have nothing against Jimmy Dore's job, but they're lacking a certain historical perspective. And being over 70 and a history major, I hope to provide a little long view to some of the proceedings that we have going on today. Now, I was in college in Southern California in the late 60s, a member of the anti-war movement, which seems kind of archaic these days for some reason. And it was the rabid left-wing Democrats who were part of the anti-war movement. It's flipped 180 degrees. Now the people who are anti-war are on the right, and all the Democrats are hawks. Hillary Clinton, Susan Rice, Blinken, the rest of that, Biden, Obama, the whole crowd, they're all war hawks. Who would have thunk it? Now, where do you turn to for news? Now, in the late 60s, you could be forgiven for not being against the Vietnam War because there wasn't a whole lot of information available. There were 3 television networks: ABC, NBC, and CBS. That's it. And they all said pretty much the same thing. And Americans believed it because that's all there was. We used to laugh about how the Russians were propagandized by Pravda and Izvestia. They didn't have free press. Did we? All of our information came from 3 networks. You figure it out. There was no anti-war information in the United States prior to 1968. There was barely an anti-war movement. It all coalesced in the spring of 1968 when Mark Rudd and the students of SDS, Students for a Democratic Society, the radical left of the Democratic Party, if you will, Mark Rudd and SDS engineered the takeover of the administration buildings at Columbia University in Manhattan. The first shot across the bow in the anti-war movement. Boy, did that catch everyone off guard. Holy shit. We thought we were powerless, futile, railing at who? We could do nothing. And all of a sudden, a voice pointing the way. And the anti-war movement was born. And will that happen in America ever again? Now we have a myriad of news organizations: Fox, CBS, CNN, MSNBC, and the 3 networks, and PBS. The landscape is littered, but they're all corporate owned. And they all say the same thing, just like 1968. So you could have been excused for not knowing what was really going on in Vietnam in 1968 because there was no information. But with the advent of the internet and YouTube, there are independent journalists out there now giving you an alternative viewpoint. You can search it out. You can find other sources that don't parrot the state line. I hope you do find those sources, because if you're still pro-war at this stage, you haven't done any research. You've been propagandized. The new Pravda and Izvestia are Fox and CNN. You can argue abortion and civil rights. That's allowed within the parameters of major news organizations. But don't you dare question foreign policy. No. We have to march in lockstep when it comes to our empire. In 1968, nobody even knew what the CIA was. Those 3 letters were foreign. We had meetings in SDS about a certain returning Vietnam War veteran who was now completely turned around and anti-war. And quite naturally, there were some suspicions about this person. Was he really one of us? Or was he an agent provocateur? That's what they called them back then. Agent provocateurs sent by the FBI. Nobody even heard of the CIA. They were that secretive. We wouldn't have even known what those initials meant. But we'll get into all that down the road, and all the nefarious things that the CIA has done since 1953 and the advent of the Dulles brothers, which continues to this very day. I'll leave it right there for now. This is all new to me, this podcasting. I hope you've enjoyed it and got a little intrigued about where I'm going with this, and you'll come back again. Thanks for listening. We'll see you soon.